We believe organizing a meeting should be easy for anyone, and it's not. Our industry has been massively impacted by this pandemic, and I think we are fortunate to call ourselves that we actually managed to triple our clients, our ARR, and our total contract value since the beginning of the pandemic. And despite the fact that no in-person meetings were really happening. We grew as well our team from 2 to 6 people currently. And as we're coming out of this pandemic, the first thing the team is asking is like, hey, actually, let's bring that team together. We've never met in person. So we are organizing our first in-person team meeting. The interesting thing is we are fully distributed. 50% of our people are based in Johannesburg, South Africa. So when we think about planning this in-person meeting, we realize that organizing a meeting is actually very difficult today. There are a lot of factors influencing decisions. They're distributed over a lot of different places, and it's a very manual, time-consuming process. Now, this whole challenge has become even more complicated with COVID, because today you have to ask yourself, where can we actually meet? Or are there any quarantine requirements? And as well, what we see with large corporations or with potentially anyone in the industry, carbon footprint is very, very important. So you actually want to see like who should be coming in person and who maybe is just joining virtually. So luckily we have solved this. We have built a technology which brings all these things together. So if we apply this for our own in-person meeting, with 50% being based in South Africa, well, the first thing you would do is actually looking at having that meeting in South Africa. Now, our technology tells us like, well, South Africa right now is not a good place to be because they have really serious issues right now related to COVID. So what would we do next? Potentially, you would look at all the starting locations or where you have people based and compare those. We compare data points according to safety, service, sustainability, and savings. And interestingly here is actually that Madrid came up as the cheapest location, despite the fact that more people would have to travel to Madrid than to Johannesburg. But since we are fully flexible on where to have the meeting, we started to look actually at alternative locations. And it was quite interesting to see that if we all would travel to Athens, we would be able to actually save 40% on that specific meeting, would reduce the travel time, and as well reduce our carbon footprint. Today, we are creating 3 core values for our customers. One is on productivity. Mondelez, the largest snack company in the world, confirmed that we help them to cut the research time they need for every meeting from a week to just a few minutes. We help companies to save costs by showing them alternatives. And we help companies to avoid unnecessary CO2 emissions by giving you that data during the planning stage, holistically. Now, there's a very interesting trend coming out of COVID-19, the work from anywhere, work from home component, which basically leads to that we see more budgets available for internal meetings to bring your remote workforce together. And secondly, companies are actually looking at repurposing existing office space and converting that into meeting spaces. So the way we have kind of solved this now is that we allow our customers to integrate the thousands of meeting spaces they have into the planning platform so they can motivate their internal people to actually have the meeting, utilize their internal meeting spaces rather than booking that outside. We are on a mission to build a self-serving end-to-end meetings management technology. So we have done the planning. We are now connecting the fulfillment component and adding the expense component. The way we are approaching is that we are not rebuilding things. No, we are connecting with existing technologies in the market. So it's an ecosystem of partners. If you think about the travel industry in general, leisure travel and corporate travel already benefits from a lot of technology. In the meeting space, our biggest competitor is manual work. Millions of executive assistants organizing meeting by basically doing this work manually, and that's what we are changing. The meeting space is a massive market, over $1 trillion business, extremely fragmented, thousands of agencies offering mainly manual services to their customers. To give you an idea about the potential of the market, if you look at the leading solution in the meetings space, Cvent, they have 30,000 customers. They did a great job there, but it's not even 1% of all the companies available in the mid and in the enterprise market in the US and in Europe. We have started to execute very well on our enterprise model. We have a SaaS model there. We're working with some of the largest corporations in the world. We have built a two-sided marketplace. We have supplier revenue share agreements in place. And we are now launching a free version of the technology, which will allow us to attack the mid-market through a land and expand model. We are an early stage startup. We are 6 people right now. This is the leadership team. Vast majority from the industry as well. Great support from Johnny Thorsen. My name is Dennis Vilovic, and we are helping your organizing meeting to make it easy for everyone. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Dennis. Well done. Way to kick us off. Let's bring the fierce dragons up here.
Excellent.
Thanks, dragons. Jeroen, I think you've got a little bit experience building and scaling a corporate travel startup. Maybe we'll start with you here. What do you have for Dennis?
Yeah, the first one, Dennis, is get out of that enterprise market, man. It's a hairball. So my first question is, how are you nailing that the mid-market? Because moving an enterprise as a go-to-market strategy, I think it's pretty dangerous with considering lead times, etc. So how are you making sure that you scale down those lead times, signing up enterprise customers?
So basically, the two elements we are utilizing on our side is a product-led market growth strategy, which means we are releasing this free version of the technology, a bit like what Slack was doing, in order to get scale. So people will be able to utilize the technology free of charge, so to say. So that will help us to drive user numbers. And secondly, to attack the mid-market, we are following a partnership strategy. So actually working with agencies, with existing suppliers in the market, joining hands with them, that will help us to actually scale faster.
And in terms of the platform, on what I'm struggling with, because I've known your technology, right? So where to plan, isn't that a feature of an entire meeting platform? So you have to reverse engineer that whole meeting planner on where we meet, which is a feature. So aren't you afraid that you're too slow to market and that a meeting platform basically takes over your capability?
No, I don't think so, because in the end, it's the very first step. Like, people decide they have a meeting, and then, the question would be where to meet, or that's just the fact that you want to plan a meeting. And even if you know where to meet. But today, think about this. You have two people, and one is in the US, one is in Spain, where I'm based. Now, they want to come together for an in-person meeting. They have to sign a deal whatsoever. That is not a meeting in how the industry would consider it, but it is how we look at it. And it's just extremely difficult to figure out, where could people actually come together today, having travel restrictions, having quarantine restrictions in mind. So already in that case, it would be very important to give you that data. But independently of that, you want to meet in Amsterdam. Well, maybe it's just great to have all the data around that within a minute, instead of like with weeks. How many visas? What's your carbon footprint? Who should maybe join virtually? Because the guys from South Africa produce 80% of the CO2. So let them join this time virtually. So by being able to have access to all this data, that's really the value we're creating here.
Cool.
Great. So first of all, a very energetic presentation. Thanks a lot. I was wondering, how often do you actually have the situation where you need a product like that as a potential customer? Because if it's only once or twice a year, it's not probably something where you will sort of introduce a separate software for.
The customers we currently have are really Fortune 500s, very, very large multinational companies. They have thousands of meetings a year. They know the number of the large events which are managed through their agencies. They have no clue around the numbers of these 2, 4, 5, 10 people coming together. And so there's a massive opportunity there to optimize that. And then again, if you think about only the productivity gain, if you can save a week of work with every meeting, and there are thousands of meetings, it's incredible that the time we are saving those guys.
Great. Thank you very much, Dennis. Thanks, Dragons.